Susie Mcginn is the on-air host of WSFI Catholic Radio's Healing the Whole Person show that her friend Joe McHugh started. She is a sacristan for WSFI's on-air semi-weekly masses. She supervises the hospitality of the station by preparing, cooking, and cleaning up for our volunteers and guests. Susie does it all with grace and humility. She is our 2021 Volunteer of the Year. Susie Mcginn.
Anyway, I'm glad that I'm first on the program, because when I see the list of speakers here tonight, you'd be a very, very hard act to follow. So I'm going to make it very easy for you. So anyway, thank you for your kindness to me and offering me this opportunity to serve this station, which I love so much. But without a doubt, this is not about me. You and I should be standing here together, every one of you. On a trip to the Holy Land several years ago, I came across some people who kept singing a song using the words Jehovah Jireh. Jehovah Jireh. They were both blind, this couple. And they really impressed me, but I didn't know really what they were saying. So I looked it up and found what it meant. God provides. And I know many of you know the story that this came from in the Old Testament. It's from Genesis 22. It's when Abraham was asked by God to sacrifice his precious son, Isaac, and he was about to slay him, and the angel came and stayed his hand and said, Abraham, do not slay your son. And with that, Abraham looked, and there in the thicket, as I'm sure many of you know the story, was a ram that God had provided. God provided for the sacrifice. And what did Abraham say? Jehovah Jireh. Thank you. And so that's really become, I introduced Angela to that saying, and we've used it a lot at the station because he does provide for us so miraculously every day. Little things, big things. And so the reason I'm here is because of that. And I want to share a little story. When my late husband passed away, I thought, what would be my next vocation? What will I do? Because I worked for him 29 years. So what would I do? So I thought I'd be peeling potatoes at Marytown. Well, as it turns out, I'm only 5 minutes away at WSFI, and I'm head of the kitchen. So, more importantly, though, the other thing I needed when my husband passed away was both spiritual direction and protection. Because through my late father and my husband, I enjoyed spiritual guidance and protection all my life. And I thought, where am I going to get that? I'm very careful about whose teaching I sit under. But guess what? God, Jehovah Jireh, God provided that for me through the ministry of WSFI, and especially some of the people sitting around my table here. So I just want to say thank you so much for the way you have provided for me and for WSFI. And together we say, Jehovah Jireh. Thank you.
Thank you, Susie. Bonnie Quirk is a co-founder and president of Lake County Right to Life. She has served as the Illinois director to the National Right to Life Board. She attends March for Life in Washington and Chicago. She and her husband Jim have 6 children and 12 grandchildren. She is an invaluable friend, supporter, and guest talk show host on WSFI Catholic Radio. Bonnie Quirk.
Thank you very much. I dedicated this award to the pro-life movement, which I love and have been humbled to serve for so many years. The pro-life movement has many arms, but one body, and that body is to defend the sanctity of human life and to protect those who are at grave risk from abortion, infanticide, and euthanasia. The movement has continued over these long years. Has it been easy? No. Has it been fun? Yes, because you meet the best people in the world. People who unselfishly give of themselves for people they will never, ever meet, probably. This movement has ecumenized more people than any other movement alive. It has saved many lives, only God knows how many, and it has deepened the faith of everyone who has served in this movement. The movement will go on. It has great role models who influenced me and have gone before me, and role models, authentic role models who are coming up to take over leadership in the movement. But I'm going to take a minute and tell you my heroine in the pro-life movement is Virginia Mccaskey. Mrs. Yes. You bet. Virginia realized at the beginning that every single baptized Christian has a moral responsibility to stand in defense of human life. She has supported and sustained every single aspect of our movement. And in closing, I don't want you to think the pro-life movement is difficult. It isn't. I think leadership learned a long time ago that it doesn't belong to one person or one group. It belongs to Almighty God. And He has led us and protected us and guided us and will continue to do so as long as we remain faithful. And the pro-life movement is faithful. I'll close by giving you one of the highlights of my experience in the pro-life movement. And it was at the March for Life in Washington, D.C., probably about 4 years ago. 3 generations of Quirks march in that March for Life. And if you've ever been to the march, you know that it's an overwhelming crush of people. And on the side streets that lead to Constitution Avenue, you can be standing for a long time before you get into the actual movement from the ellipse down to the Supreme Court. And so we were standing there, and a lady was standing next to us with a large number of kids. And like all good pro-lifers, she introduced herself, and we said where we were from, and she said she and her husband bring their 8 children every year on their family vacation to the March for Life. And next to Lizzie, who was about my granddaughter, who was probably about 8 at the time, was the little boy, one of the family. And he turned to her and said, "Do you know they're killing babies?" I'm going to repeat that. In his little voice, he says to another little girl, "Do you know they're killing babies?" And she said, "Oh, yes, but how can that happen? How can that be? How can they kill babies?" And I thought to myself, the movement will move on because the faith has been passed. So thank you very much for everything, and continue to defend life.
Thank you very much, Bonnie. Vicki Thorne is the Executive Director of the National Office of Post-Abortion Reconciliation and Healing and foundress of Project Rachel, a post-abortion healing ministry of the Catholic Church. She and her husband William have 6 children and 17 grandchildren. She received the People of Life Award for pro-life service to the church. She is a WSFI Healing Conference presenter of the Biology of Soul Ties. Vicki Thorne.
Well, I'm most honored to be with you tonight. I'm very touched because the work that God led me to do has changed so many lives. And it wasn't something I set out to do. My introduction to the aftermath of abortion came in high school when a friend of mine who was a year younger, her mother forced her to have an abortion. It's before there was a pro-life movement, okay? I'm old, I got the white hair, okay? But I've had it for a long time, so you can't really tell how old I am. But that changed my life because she was so wounded. And I'm a teenager, I don't know what to say to her. And it was one of those life events that led me to do this. It wasn't my intention to do this. I started out in pre-med and then I went into psych. And then I was working out what I was going to do, and my husband had a cousin when we moved to Milwaukee who told someone in the diocese about me. And I was offered the job as the first Respect Life Director in the Archdiocese of Milwaukee a long time ago. And it became clear to me as I did the pro-life work that we have to recognize the woundedness and how many millions of women and men are wounded. And those people, if they are not helped to heal, will be pro-abortion because that's how they can resolve what happened to them. And so for us as pro-lifers to keep in mind that that's who we're talking to many times and we don't know. And you will have people who will have 3, 4, 5 abortions. And the fathers don't know what to do with this, okay? So many of them become adamantly pro-abortion because it's what wounded them and they don't know what to do with it. And so for us as we speak, to always include those that are wounded by abortion, those who've been touched, you know, whether you're clergy, whether you're pro-life, whether you're doing it. And to keep in mind that many times those people who are the angriest that we encounter, it's because they've got a story. And the story may be theirs, but it may be their mother's, okay? And the friend of mine whose mother, you know, paid for her abortion, forced her to have it, I believe her mother had an abortion. Her mother knew where to find one, and this was a time when abortionists were not on every corner, okay? So for us all to be conscious of that, whether we're leading prayer, whether we're, you know, standing in front of some place, that openness, the kindness, the recognition that abortion changes your life forever in a very significant way. And it's really only with God's grace that healing comes. But there are so many people in the pro-life movement who had abortions. They won't necessarily share that with you. But for us to know that that's an important piece, again, because of the millions of people who are out there and the walking wounded, and to recognize that it isn't only the woman and the man, it's the siblings who found out that their mother had an abortion, and they don't know what to do with that. It's the brothers, the sisters, the cousins. Those people are all out there, and they're all people we encounter. And so our language, as we defend life, needs to have this pastoral sort of component to it, that there's help, there's healing, there's hope. Because otherwise people feel shut out, and they find that we're not amenable, sort of thing. And for us to really be conscious of the fact that you don't know who you're talking to, whether you're in front of a clinic, whether you're giving a talk, whatever, to be aware of how many, 1 in 3 women, 1 in 4 women, okay? Millions in our country have been touched by abortion in a very direct way. In our families, okay, in our extended family system, I know of at least 4 women who've had abortions and a couple of fathers. But we don't think about that. And so I just, again, I thank you for this award, but I also pass the charge to you to be very conscious of how you talk about this. We need to be the lovers of the world, because they'll come to us then and talk to us. And in that way, God's able to heal them, to empower them, and they become incredible advocates for life. Many of the people I know in the pro-life movement have had abortions, but they won't tell you that, okay? So just be conscious of that. Thank you for all that you do, because if you don't speak, it's not going to be heard. And if you don't love, it isn't going to happen. So thank you all very much.
Father Godwin Askew is the founder of I'm a Bridge Africa, which provides his homeland of Nigeria with health care, drinking water provisions, and education. Since his ordination, he has served at Holy Angels Church, the Northern Illinois University Newman Center, and Marion Central High School in Woodstock. Now he is the pastor of St. Patrick Catholic Church in McHenry. Father?
Quickly, I want to thank the WSFI Radio for the selections tonight. It covers, if you notice, from womb, all the people who have spoken about life in the womb, very important. That's where it begins. But it doesn't end there. It also continues to those life that Bridge Africa reaches out to, those who need healthcare, education, water, and microfinance. So thank you for your selections, womb to tomb. Another thing I noticed with the selection is that with all the people who have received the award, I can feel comfortable with them. They're about my heights. So I feel very comfortable, okay? There's a story about a lady who loved everyone except her ex-husband, because the ex-husband didn't treat her very well. She died, went to heaven, and St. Peter said to her, the only one thing for everyone to get to heaven is going to be to spell love. Stand here, anyone that comes, ask them to spell love. People came, she asked them to spell love, and they got in, and then she turned around, she saw her ex coming. Oh boy. She thought love was going to be too simple for this man. He said to him, spell Czechoslovakia. I don't know how many people could make it. I couldn't. But the story is that in the evening of life, according to St. John of the Cross, we're going to be judged on one thing: how much we loved. Love God, but also allow that love to extend to our neighbors. That is what Bridge Africa wants to do and has been trying to do. Because when I read the statements of Jesus in the gospel, at the end he said, when I was hungry, you gave me to eat. When I was thirsty, you gave me water to drink. I was sick, you came to visit with me. So Bridge Africa, since it started at Northern Illinois University in 2008, and it was not intended. It was simply a matter of sharing African meals with the students, and they went to Africa after the meal collected about $6,200 and something. And when they noticed that 31 students could benefit from $6,200 to pay their tuition for the whole year, they said, let's do it again. And then finally, we ended up founding an organization called Bridge. It means Ima is a native word in my language in Nigeria, meaning love. Interesting. Love Bridge for Africa. And so many people have come together in areas of healthcare, water, education, and microfinance to help the most vulnerable people who would need it. And I can't thank WSFI Radio enough, and Angela, who have been there with us to broadcast and to tell about what we do. That is what Bridge Africa intends to do and continues to do, to seek for those who need help, who need support in these areas, and also to help them. Now, somebody might say, like a lot of people have said to me, how come we can't do it here in the United States of America? We do. But if you remember the story of the Good Samaritan, Scripture says he was a foreigner. And so at the end, Jesus said, who do you think was his neighbor? You know the answer to the question. Any man, any woman, regardless of where he comes from, who needs my help. If I can help him, that man, that woman is my neighbor. And at the end of life, I'm going to be judged on how much I loved him. I also noticed that most terrific people, people of love, sometimes don't even realize how special they are. They go on being loving, sweet, thoughtful. They do what is necessary to help others and make the world a better place for them. Even though tonight my name is called, but I recognize these people in the people of St. Patrick Church in McHenry, and all the volunteers of Imabridge Africa. Some of them are here tonight. I'm not going to mention their names. They go out and try to make the world a better place. Indeed, the word tonight is for them. They inspire me. I hope they will also inspire you to know that our neighbors are those brothers and sisters, wherever they come from, who may need our help. And at the end, we're going to be judged only on one thing: how much we love. God bless you.